Welcome to the Bayonet's Countdown to November, a series of interviews with the candidates in the November 4th election. I'm Marty Madden, and with me this segment is Tom Hejl. Tom's a Republican. He's running for an at-large seat on the board of Calvert County Commissioners. And he's running in a field of candidates for that seat. There are two at-large seats up for grabs in this election. Tom, welcome.
Thank you.
And tell us why you've chosen to run for county commissioner.
That's kind of an interesting story, Marty. You know, I spent 40 years in law enforcement and a lion's share of it in Calvert County. And from 2002 until 2013, I was the assistant sheriff in the county. And consequently, I was involved in a lot of interaction with the county commissioners, with department heads, and of course, public safety. And during the course of that time, I got to saw county government in its operation from day to day. Mm-hmm. When I decided to hang up my handcuffs in April of 2013, I was approached by a number of people asking me to run for county commissioner. I really hadn't given it a whole lot of thought at that time, but I started thinking about it. And people continued to approach me, continued to ask me to run for county commissioner. So after a couple months of thinking about it, because it's a very serious position, I mean, it's not something that I took lightly. The deciding factor was I talked to my wife. And I said, Sheila, you know, people want me to run for county commissioner, what do you think? Of course, I thought she was going to say, are you crazy? And she said, you can make a great commissioner. So at that point, I decided, yeah, I'll run for county commissioner because I'm a service-oriented person. I've served my entire life, and this would just be another opportunity to serve the citizens of Calvert County.
Okay, so now, what issues do you believe the next board is going to need to address?
Well, one of the top issues is always the budget. I mean, the budget has been not in disarray, but it's with the recession for the last 8 years, it's been difficult to balance a budget. And I know the commissioners have done a really good job of doing that. Can you make everybody happy? No. But the bottom line is that is the baseline that I think we need to look at, and that is the budget, how we build the budget, and crafting the budget doesn't necessarily have to be done the same way it's historically been done. There are different ways to balance a budget, and there are different priorities. You know, the county employees have not gotten a step or an increase in a lot of those years, and they're hardworking people, very hardworking people. And maybe if we crafted the budget a little different, then they could get a step or a COLA as needed. I think the budget is the #1 issue. Remaining a AAA bond-rated county is a top issue. I think that we need to examine and hopefully change some policies at Planning and Zoning, which is now the Department of Community Planning and Building. You know, on the campaign trail, I've talked to hundreds of people. And the single most factor that comes out are people's displeasure with planning and zoning. Now, I don't know if everything I hear on the campaign trail is true, obviously, but I'm in the process of building a house myself. And I already have a couple stories that were not really fun stories for me in terms of dealing with planning and zoning. Mm-hmm. You know, the commissioners set policy. The commissioners are the ones who can say, you know, that policy is a little too restrictive, or that policy shouldn't be. You know, farmers have, you know, if you own a 200-acre farm and you want to give 5 acres to your son or your daughter so that they can build a nice house and still live within, you know, the family confines and work on the farm. I've heard horrendous stories of problems just getting that done on the farm. So there's things that need to be looked at, policy issues that need to be looked at from planning and zoning. And my perspective is county government is a service for the citizens. We should be helping them, not hindering them. Now I know you can't say let the farmer have 20 lots for 20 kids without having some regulations. But the reality is that that doesn't happen. It's 1 or 2 lots. So we need to look at planning and zoning closer. And of course, I've always been an advocate for kids. My kids grew up here. My grandkids are growing up in Calvert County. And one of the things that I've typically had a problem with was the fact that our fields in Calvert County are some of the worst fields in jurisdictions surrounding us. And instead of continuing to build more parks, which I know we need, why don't we upgrade the fields and the parks that we have? There's been some suggestions that we need to do innovative ways to raise revenue for things like that. Well, you know what? I'll bet you there's some companies that would like to have a big sign at a field for advertisement and probably pay to have a field upgraded. Mm-hmm. So there's different things to look at, but those issues, the budget, the AAA bond rating, planning and zoning and policy making, and helping the kids with upgrading our fields are some of the things that I'm really going to hope to get along with other commissioners so that we can do something about those things.
Okay. Do you believe there's true transparency in Calvert County government? And if you don't, what would you do to fix that situation?
That's a complex issue. And I'll tell you why it's a complex issue, because there are legal aspects involved in what people believe to be transparency in terms of government operations. I dealt with the same thing in law enforcement. People will call up and want to know something about Constellation. Well, there's security issues that you can't discuss. People will call up and ask about personnel matters in our office. You can't discuss that by law. And the county has certain issues that they have to discuss behind closed doors. Now, I do think that this board has gone a long way to move more transparent in this last 4-year term. Pretty much everything's on TV now, with the exception of maybe personnel issues that have to be dealt with in the back room and things of that nature. But I don't see where there is a definitive issue of non-transparency. No one has said to me, why isn't such and such on TV? Because the only thing that I've seen that they really do in the back room are personnel matters for the most part. Now, meetings in their own office with department heads discussing matters, that's not something that needs to be broadcast. That's just, finding fact, that sort of thing. But what the citizens need to know, I do believe, is really pretty transparent. Evan Slagenhoff pointed out at a forum that the Calvert County budget process this past year, every single session was on TV. People had access to every session, and they could also obtain information by going to the courthouse. So I think we're doing a pretty good job at being transparent.
Okay. Tom, if you feel Maryland's jurisdictions are being handed too many unfunded mandates, from the state, what, in your opinion, does Calvert County need to do to assert its autonomy?
Well, we are being handed too many unfunded mandates, and there's way too many taxes and fees levied against the citizens of this state. But what we need is, we need to stay in touch with our Senate delegates, and we need to lobby them to continue their hard work in Annapolis to put these unfunded mandates aside, to make efforts at curbing them. There's not a whole lot to say. It's a Democratic-controlled legislature, and you have a Democratic governor, and it's hard for the Republican Party to make any inroads in terms of stopping some of the unfunded mandates and reducing some of the taxes and fees that are levied against the Marylanders.
Okay. Now, with a huge construction project about to get rolling and potentially another one, Calvert Cliffs 3, looming down the road, are you prepared for a lot of citizens' inquiries, concerns, and feedback over the next 4 years?
Sure. The citizens have every right to voice their opinion. you know, whether you agree with it or disagree with it, you have that right as an American citizen, as a Marylander. I know there's been plenty of displeasure with the Dominion project, and those people had opportunities at forums, at protests, to voice their opinion. The federal authorities, I would imagine, listened to them. I would imagine listened to the information that was presented from Dominion, and they decided to give them the permit. Locally, all we can do is hope and push for Dominion to stay transparent, as the county government is, and to help the citizens understand what's going on there. The citizens have that right to know what's going on at Dominion, how it will affect them. Will it adversely affect them? If not, let us know. If so, let us know. The citizens have that right, and whether you agree or disagree with the project itself, federal authorities said it's a go, so it's a go. Now, Calvert Cliffs, same way. If you recall, some 40 years ago, I guess, when Calvert Cliffs was being built, it was the same thing. You know, people protested. People were up in arms about the plant and what potential hazards may come of it. And quite frankly, nothing has. I mean, the plant is a very safe and secure location. Having said that, both of these facilities have been good partners to Calvert County. They put land in open space. They've helped out the county on different areas. This project with Dominion now is going to be pumping a lot of value into our county, and you know, hopefully, and I've had opportunity to visit Dominion on numerous occasions, as well as Constellation, and I know they're as concerned with the safety of the citizens as the citizens are with them. The additional revenue, sure, it's going to help. It's not the wherewithal, it's not the be-all, end-all, but it's going to help. It'll help in a lot of different ways. You know, additional $40 million in taxes starting in 2017, it will help. It'll help us pay down our debt. It'll help us with things like the fields. It can help, you know, with amenities for our citizens, particularly in the southern end. That's where the two plants are at. So maybe they should benefit a little more.
Okay. Tom Hejl, we certainly want to thank you for being our guest today. And,
thank you. It's my pleasure, Marty.
We wish you luck on the campaign trail. Tom Hejl, he's a Republican running for the at-large seat, one of two at-large seats on the Calvert County Board of County Commissioners. Thank you for joining us for this edition of Countdown to November. I'm Marty Madden.